Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Excited to be with you. And finally, my voice is back to normal. I'm like about 95%, but I feel better. I feel better. So excited to be able to talk without having to worry about me losing my voice. So, anyway, I got an interesting topic. Of course, I did not want to address this topic back then during the beginning of the Iran-Israel conflict for a reason. I always wanted to wait till later on because I'm going to be providing you an overview analysis about the hypocrisy of Arab states that have contributed, and I use the term carefully, contributed to the Israeli attacks on Iran. So then I will provide you almost a snapshot, historical one about 8 countries, including the sixth one that I'm going to be talking about today. 8 Arab countries that have been dealing with Israel behind the scenes for a long time. So I'm going to be providing you with, in addition to some images and so forth, and that's what we're going to be addressing today. I'm very, very excited about it. So before I'll get into any of this, some just housekeeping stuff. I am working on 2 main stories for you that I am trying to verify some informations and so forth. And second thing is I'm going to put a Q&A. I'm sorry, I'm going to put a survey question for whether you guys would like me to do a Q&A session about the Iran Israeli-US conflict. So there are a lot of unanswered questions. It just, you have to be careful what's been said out there. And I am kind of shaking my head about some statements that I heard and stuff that have nothing to do with the reality. So anyway, I'll put that survey question after we're done here on the community tab. Then you guys can vote there, and if everybody agrees, then I'll do it. Otherwise, I'll just move on with the topics that I need to cover. So first, let me say hi to our wonderful community. Then I'll jump into our conversation. Biswastik, very interesting comment. Thank you for sharing that. Hypocrisy of the Arab governments, the one and only reason for Netanyahu's emboldened genocide. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Spot on. Empire into V1K, good to see you. Nobody is above the law. I like that screen name. So, Global South, good to see you. The offer to be in BRICS. Speaking of that, I will be talking about that. Probably will reach out to one of my sources that has an in-depth knowledge about all this. So we'll be addressing that. I am still surprised at Brazil throwing a state dinner for India. I just don't get it. Nothing against India. It's just the optics of it. What is Brazil thinking? So anyway, it's their country, they can decide. Chris Colonizer, good to see you. Li Yang, good to see you. You to you, super, as always. Willie Homan, Noel, Matt Backy, Army with Harmony, Truth Seeker, as always. Alice Talukin, good to see you. Phil, good to see you. A.F. Gordon Corleone, good to see you. And salam to you as well. Man Bilko, good to see you. Love from Maryland. Good to have you here, man. S.C. Lee, good to see you as always. All right, guys, let's get into this. 6 Arab countries. 6. Yeah. And I will provide you a link and all this later on. So the 6 Arab countries have supported Israel in its strikes against Iran. It makes you just wonder, even if you have tensions with Iran, when I say you, meaning this Arab country, aren't Iranian Muslims? So what happened to that Islamic Brotherhood and the support for other Muslims? And that tells you right there, it just hypes, even when it comes down to religion, and respectfully so. And I respect people who are religious, and I have nothing against that. It just I'm going to share some excerpts from the book I wrote about Saudi Arabia, in which I addressed the religion aspect. You guys need to know about this one. So my point now, one thing is sure, is that the U.S. Israel-Iran conflict, which is the 12-day war, which, by the way, you should be asking yourself a question. How come the war ended this fast? Why the Ukraine war didn't end? Why the Afghanistan war didn't end back then? Iraq, Somalia, you name it. But why this particular war ended quickly? Of course, it ended on the surface. Make no mistake, Iran should not ever. And I wrote about it. I mentioned it to you guys that it will be stupid of Iran to trust the Americans again, because that will be a problem that they are creating themselves. Iranian ought to be. They're smart. They are pragmatic people. They should know better. They shouldn't be enticed into what we will build a nuclear power plant for you for $30 billion. You all know what it means. That means if we build that one, we controlling the uranium. Simple as that. So why will Iranian allow themselves for that? And that's what I'm saying. They have to be very, very careful. So this 12-day war, now, as I said, exposed the hypocrisy and duplicity of the so-called Arab Muslim leaders. And I'm going to be talking about those 6 countries. Let me put them quickly here for you to see. This way we won't overlap, because I have 2 different sources that I have to share with you. So now what I'm going to be talking about in this aspect here is pertain to the Israel's attack on Iran, and the 6 countries involved: Jordan, Syria, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and United Arab Emirates. Okay, the 6 countries. On the other part of the analysis that I'm going to be providing you, I'm going to be talking about 8 other countries in addition to Egypt, in addition to Somalia. Morocco is also part of those, and I'm going to tackle that one separately. So for now, suffice it to say that when we think about what took place beyond the assault, beyond the assault, what lay bare is the double standard of the Arab nations, especially in the Gulf region. Egypt is part of that too, but for now I'm focusing on those countries. So not only the states, Bahrain, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and not only the state failed to take any meaningful action, given that their responsibility towards another Muslim country. But on the other hand, you're going to ask yourself, well, Dr. O, how can they do that when they couldn't do it for the Palestinians in Gaza? And we all know what's still going on over there. It's a dark spot on the chapter of human history that the world is like letting this happen. Just imagine, guys, for a second that your child doesn't have anything to eat or drink, and someone with power just allowing it. And that's what I'm saying. And this is what it became clear as to why those countries are supporting Israel in this case. It was because of what Iran did for the Palestinians, what the Houthis did for the Palestinian cause. And that's why. So instead of supporting Iran or even just challenging the U.S. or Israel for that matter, by at least officially and publicly denouncing and condemning those, they stayed mum. Instead, what they end up doing, they actively helped Israel in its operations against Iran. And that one wasn't just about opening the airspace. No. It was about through intelligence sharing, logistical coordination that took part of that. And of course, the use of the airspace and the radar systems. Yes, some countries, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, allow their radars to be used for this. So that is where. So I'm going to start with Syria first, and I'm going to share the pictures with you guys as I go along. So this way, then I'll move on into the later on the historical aspect. So let's start with Syria first. You get now the terrorist Giuliani. And by the way, this now makes sense to you as to why we installed the terrorist Giuliani as an interim president in Syria. And that's many will ask, why Syria? Well, of course, because the Israeli jets were able to fuel midair over the Syrian territory. Surprising elements is that when you ask yourself as to where those tankers, the oil tankers that the plane tankers that refuel the fighter jets, where did they came from? Where did they took off? Where did they take off from? From Al Udeid base in Qatar. So, which means what, guys? Is in a simple language. It means that Qatar was aware of what Israel was about to do. So Israel used Syrian airspace to refuel his jet as he struck or launched an attack on Iran, while Qatar allowed the tankers to take off from its airspace. So, but this leads us to one key question, and I'm going to ask you, and I'd like to have your input or your answer if you would like to answer that. With this move, do you believe that Syria will normalize relations with Israel? Excuse me. In your opinion, will Syria, excuse me, will Syria normalize relations with Israel? Yes or no? Let me see your answer in the chat box quickly before I'll keep going here. I gotta drink some water. All right, Kevin Baptist, you say yes. Islam Forever, you say yes. Samir Karim, you say 100%. Karakulak, you say no. Dambiz Hamayo, you say yes, I think so. Truth Seeker, you say no. F. Garden Carleon, you say of course. Francisco L, you say yes. M. Pars, you say yes. Sam, Karina, you say yes, unfortunately. Lian, you say yes. Abel, no, I didn't say that. S.C. Lee, you say yes. So most of you saying yes, and there is that possibility. My personal opinion is that Syria will not move forward till they resolve one particular issue, and that particular issue has to do with the centrality of the Golan Heights. And once again leads us to another key question: will Israel give up the Golan Heights? My answer is no. And this is why it's just something to consider, something I need you guys to think about while we are talking about this. So now we said Syria and Qatar. Of course, Qatar allowed the Israeli place to take off from Al Udeid base in Qatar. Yeah, the Israeli plane took off from Al Udeid base in Qatar. Then comes the next one, which is Jordan. So, and I'll address about the relationship, because you all know that Israel is the one that have been funding certain terrorist groups inside Syria. It's no secret, we have been funding the operations. The Israelis have been as well. So, next one is Jordan, and here it is. Now, it makes you wonder, this guy, the king, who is he working for? So, and that is not the point in all this. The point is that Jordan has done everything it could in its power to do what? To protect the Palestinians? No, to protect Israel from arresting. Yeah, this is what the Jordanian did. They went ahead and arrested Palestinians so they can facilitate. Yeah, what Jordan did was facilitated the interception of the Iranian drone over their space, or airspace, that is. So basically what Jordan did is prevent the Iranian drones from reaching to Israel. Jordan also did another thing, which was taking part in the land bridge, which was what? It's basically to help Israel circumvent the naval blockade by the Gemini armed forces across the region. So when you see the king, Jordan, oh, this, I am doing this on behalf of the Palestinians and this and that, it's nonsense. So I'm going to share a clip with you guys. Take a listen, take a look here, or listen. And I want you to judge for yourself.
Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit to Jordan comes amid tensions surrounding the visit of ultra-nationalist Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir.
This is Bibi in Jordan, openly.
To the Al-Aqsa Temple Mount compound 3 weeks ago. Israel said the visit didn't break the delicate status quo.
And of course, it's because Jordan sort of took it upon itself to be the one managing the Al-Aqsa Mosque. It's all for a show. It's all for a show. It's the same argument I can make about the Saudis saying we are the one taking care of the Muslim world because we have Mecca and Medina, and that gives us the right. No, it gives you no freaking right. You have no authority whatsoever. So what the Jordanians are doing is they're playing that religion card to justify their own action. It's all about the survival of the monarchy more so than anything else. They care less for the Palestinians. So, and that's again what I need you guys to understand, where these dynamics are headed. So let me continue this quickly.
At the holy site, while Jordan condemned it. And following Netanyahu's visit, Jordan emphasized the importance of maintaining the historical and legal status quo. Israel's statement focused on the partnership.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop right there, guys. This way, because I got other stuff to cover. So just to give you an idea of when you hear a country like this one, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. It's because now you have these freaking pathetic leaders that they are now taking over the population of the Muslim world. They're presiding over those billions of people, and yet they are in bed with the enemy. So and sort of not even opposing what Israel is doing. And again, I have Jewish friends. I have nothing against the Israeli people. We're talking about government here, because what's been committed and still committing, it's against any norms. And for any pathetic Arab country that amassed massive amount of weapons but couldn't take stand, it shows you the story, because those rulers have existing business ties with Israel and the US, of course. So I'm going to share the link with you from TikTok. I'm not going to put it here. There is a reason for that. But when you get a chance later on, check it out when you are done watching this one. But it's from TikTok. By the way, speaking of TikTok, now you know why Trump is advocating for the purchase of TikTok. They don't want TikTok to stay the way it is because it exposes the truth. So, next country is Saudi Arabia. I'm laughing. You all know why. Saudi Arabia. All you need to think about Donald Trump's son-in-law. What's his name? Jared Kushner. So why is this important? Because it was Jared Kushner that set up an investment firm by the name of Affinity Partners. Let me get you guys the link and you can look it up yourself. Affinity Partners, a very plain website, doesn't have much on it. So I'm going to put it in the chat box for you guys and you can check it out later on. So why Affinity Partner is important? Why? Because what Jared Kushner did was he described it as a corridor for investments in Israel where the money, it came from Saudi Arabia, $2 billion. Yeah, that's what the Saudis are doing. So, $2 billion from the Saudi government and millions more from another country, United Arab Emirates and Qatar. So here is what I wrote in my Saudi book, because I am going to put this in perspective for you, especially when it comes down to the justification of using religion to justify. So take a listen here, guys. It is what I wrote. Saudi Arabia argues that it is the only Muslim in the world worthy to carry the banner of Islam. Two facts support its claim. Islam originated there, and Saudi Arabia contains within its territory, the two holiest sites in Islam, Mecca and Medina. I agree that Mecca and Medina are located in Saudi Arabia. However, it perplexes me how having two of Islam's holy sites grants a country the right to claim leadership within the Islamic world. Is the right given through a divine promise that no one knows about? More likely, the aim of this claimed leadership is to influence the policies and outcomes of various domestic and foreign agendas. In that case, I can certainly understand Saudi Arabia's logic for claiming leadership over the Muslim world. How convenient it is for Saudi Arabia to use Islam as a source of power. And that became very, very clear to me. Liking this video so far? Don't just be a watcher. Go ahead and hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And don't forget to tap the bell so you will not miss any of my videos or live streams. This way, you will be supporting a channel that stands for the truth and objective reporting. The choice is yours. Thanks for your support. The next two countries are Bahrain and Kuwait. Yeah. Even those pathetic, I got pictures for each one. This one with Bahrain, I didn't get the picture for Kuwait. My apologies, guys. So they're all pathetic. So here is what happened. The truth is that with what's going on in Gaza, which we all know what it is, so the weapons that is being used in Gaza have flown from the US, okay? And here is the thing. The database where this track all the shipments was in Qatar. So, and there you got the weapons shipped to the Israeli military. So, because there is evidence that weapons have flown directly from US bases in Kuwait and been delivered to Israel. Yeah, there's no secret about it. No. Next one is this one here. Man, this guy looks evil. Both of them. So this is United Arab Emirates. Okay. Pathetic. So now when you think about United Arab Emirates, and what is known for United Arab Emirates, a lot of people go there and snap pictures because that's how they modernized and so forth. So because that's what even Muslims do. They go to United Arab Emirates. Why would you even go? So every year they go there. So but what is not known is that United Arab Emirates was directly involved in the military infrastructure around Israel's attacks in Gaza. So yeah, because I have to take you back to 2021. Why 2021? Because that's when a deal was signed between United Arab Emirates state-owned arms firm, and in Israeli aerospace industries. Why? To develop drones together. So that's why when those go to the mosque and pray and all that stuff, we are Muslims and all, don't buy that. It's hypocrisy. What a shame. So, and this is why when you think about United Arab Emirates, it's a contrary to that public perception about normalizing relations. It has already happened, really, between the other country like Saudi government. because the Saudis themselves have been found to use the Israeli intelligence companies' equipment. So, and by the way, these Saudis companies are staffed by former personnel from an Israeli unit, and that unit is Unit 200, which is a military intelligence unit. So, and that one specifically deals with hacking into the Saudi citizens' phones. And that's how you know how Jamal Khashoggi was tracked. It's because the Pegasus system, which was an Israeli one that was used, a spyware from the Saudi intelligence company, or the Israeli intelligence company. I'm sorry, it's called the NSO group. Because the common sense suggests this, guys. Would you, as a country, would you source your sort of functions, your equipment, your sensitive stuff to a country that doesn't share a close relationship with you? I don't think so. It's the same thing. Israelis knew that they had a relationship with Saudi Arabia. So that is why, as I said, the state will not source the functions of its external sort of intelligence services to a state that it didn't develop a relationship with, and that's the same apply to United Arab Emirates, which it outsources the hacking of its own citizens' phone to the Israeli company. There's a company by the name called Celebrate in Israel. I just wanted to highlight this to you guys for you to understand. Once again, I find myself have to share this with you about how the Muslim countries, especially Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, and all that, justify their argument. Here is again what I wrote. Yet some scholars, mainly in the Muslim world, out of ignorance or from fear of retaliation, refrain from answering the question. And yet the question needs to be answered so that the Muslim world can recalculate the exact value of Saudi religious authority. The religious authority, after all, is the currency in which Saudi Arabia trades in the marketplace of ideas. The question, the value of that currency is to question the value of that currency is to question the value of Wahhabism. It is to question the truth of the teaching, more succinctly, the ideology of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, a prominent 18th century Hanbali Muslim cleric, excuse me, who followed the most conservative school of jurisprudence in Sunni Islam. I address Wahhabism in this book in great detail. Suffice it to say, for now, that the Wahhabist interpretation of Islam are like twisted fingers that reached into the dark corners of the Middle East, extending even into Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Africa. Wahhabism is the hand that misguides many of the ventures undertaken by Saudi Arabia in the Middle East and abroad. One cannot forget a religion when reflecting on Saudi Arabia's short and long-term strategies. And when I say Saudi Arabia, I am referring to United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Bahrain, and you got it. You get the idea. Next country is none other than the pathetic Egypt. Yeah, I found an article, and I'm going to share it with you guys, the link. This is an old picture of Sisi that right after he took over, which, by the way, we gave the green light, the Saudis gave the green light for this, for him to conduct the coup after overthrowing Mohammed Morsi, who was democratically elected by the Egyptian people. And look what we did. So Egypt has been facilitating the Israeli blockade on Gaza for over a decade, by the way. It's nothing new. Don't be surprised. Egypt worked at the beginning of the Gaza attacks to extract extortions amount of money from Palestinians, believe it or not. And all this has to do with one particular guy, a businessman, who is to enrich himself with very close ties to the corrupted Sisi, because he is as corrupted as he gets. And yet he's talking about peace. And come on, man, what a shame. What a shame. That's why I always said the Houthis and now Iran have put Muslims to shame, or Arab, whatever you want to call them. Shame. Then I have another country before I'll go into the history of the other part of the analysis. Turkey. You can't ignore Turkey. You know, we cannot think that Turkey is no. Turkey is flip-flopping for their own strategic interest. That's a picture you're seeing with Netanyahu meeting with Rajab Tayyip Erdogan. Erdogan who wants to become a Basha forever, a king of sorts forever. I mean, what's wrong with these people in power? You know, they want to go to the grave while they're still in power. Why? But anyway, so when you think about Egypt, when you think about Turkey, because here's the thing, all these governments that I mentioned, they have no control over their own territories or sovereignties because we have military bases there. So, and that is why they were able to contribute to what was taking place in Gaza. And some of them decided to move forward into supporting the attacks on Iran. And that is why Turkey comes into the picture. Why? It's because Turkey has trained Israeli pilots on the firing range in Turkey. So that's why they allow the Israeli Air Force pilots to use the mountain territory to sharpen their skills out of targets in Palestinian homes. And in return, because they have to have something for what they do in this, right? In return, the Turkish pilots are also trained at a team base in occupied in Palestine. In fact, the Israeli companies, so the energy supplies that they are getting, the electricity is directly to the Israeli military bases, is coming from through Turkey. So, and all this has to do with some business ties. That's all it is. So when you hear Muslim leaders saying we stand by the Arab, we stand, don't fall for that. Don't fall for that. And yet they go to the mosque on Friday to conduct prayer. I'd rather not pray at all and not be a hypocrite. How can those Muslims look at themselves in a mirror? And by the way, that doesn't apply just to them. They apply to us, our pathetic leaders in Washington. How can they look at themselves in a mirror, knowing that we got a president who lies on a daily basis? So that's just my point. So and what gets under my skin is when I found out that 4,000 Turkish citizens went into the Israeli military and taught during the ongoing conflicts in Gaza. 4,000 Turkish citizens. That's reminded me of the Indian double agent spies on behalf of Mossad. So basically, the bottom line to all this is that the attacks on Iran with the support of this, it was because Iran is almost being punished for supporting the Palestinians. Look what the Houthis did. Did any Muslim country to stand? None of them couldn't. They don't have the balls to do it. And I'll say it. They're pathetic. So, and that's why I said, could it be another Arab Spring in the making? Maybe, maybe not. You know. And again, it's their countries. Who am I to say? I don't live there. It's their countries. They can decide for themselves. If they want to live in what's the word? I draw a blank on the word. Dignity, in less dignity, because that's what it's like. If they want to live that way, be it. It's their countries. They can do whatever they want to do. So I just wanted to share that aspect with you guys. So now I'm going to be sharing with you the 8 countries one by one, briefly here. We still have enough time, yeah. Briefly, and I'll start with the article where I get the picture from, this one right here. So let's start with the first one. And the first one is, because here's the thing. Most of the Arab countries were quickly to deny any official relations or covert ties with Israel. However, they couldn't keep that hidden forever. They've been exposed. So let's start with Saudi Arabia. Go back to 2017, and I was very aware of this one here because I left Washington in 2014, but we were dealing with some stuff when I was in Saudis in 2012 pertaining to this. So I have a background understanding of it. So 2017, it was reported in the official Arabic language, the Israeli radio report, that an emir of the Saudi royal court visited the country secretly and discussed with senior Israeli official the idea of pushing forward regional peace. Who was this emir of the Saudi royal court? Excuse me, at that time? It was none other than the pathetic MBS. That's what it was. Yeah, it was MBS. That's what it was. So Saudi's ties to Israel run deeper than you can even imagine. And that's why in 2018, the Saudi Arabia reported purchased over $250 million worth of spy equipment from Israel. That's where this Pegasus comes in. So all you hear about the Saudis won't want to have ties with Israel, it's a lie. That's the bottom line to it. So second country is United Arab Emirates. And once again, I did show you that you can just see sometimes the dark energy of someone on face. And I'm not judging here. No, I'm not judging. All I'm saying is, if you know what to look for, you will feel, you really will feel and sense that negative energy, and that's what it is. So United Arab Emirates. Why is this important? Following the secret meeting in the US between Emirati, Israeli, and American security official on Iran. So Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the top diplomat, tweeted a link to an article titled "Islam Reformation: An Arab-Israeli Alliance is Taking Shape in the Middle East." It shows you right there, guys. As a matter of fact, this ties to this particular picture right here. This guy right here on the far right is from the United Arab Emirates. So they're smiling like idiots. Basically, that's what it was. And in August 2018, United Arab Emirates contracted the secretive Israeli NSO group to spy on dissidents, turning their phones into surveillance devices through the use of spyware. So that's my point. So, and I'm not going to go into more detail because I'm going to provide you guys the link you can read up later. Third country, Egypt. Egypt, not only under this guy, but also was under Hosni Mubarak. You all remember, Hosni Mubarak came to power through a coup with the one who facilitated everything. That's why Egyptian leaders, you can't trust them. You can't trust Egypt. But Egypt, you have to go back to 1950s and 60s. And that's where Jamal Abdel Nasser, you all remember him, maintained. He was the only one maintained no peace with Israel, no recognition of Israel, no negotiations with it. End of quote. A rallying cry that most Arab countries will adhere to for decades, but not Egypt. Today, Egypt and Israel share close relations in coordination with Egyptian authorities. Israel regularly carries out airstrikes in northern Sinai Peninsula. Yeah. And the security cooperation between the two regarding export of natural gas to Egypt was about $15 billion. Excuse me. So once again, don't fall for what you are hearing about, oh, the Arab world standing for, no, they can't even swat a fly, let alone take a stand like what the Houthis did or what Iran ended up showing Israel. Because here is one thing, why the war ended so quick, the conflict. It never ended, but Israel wants it because they were in the verge of being defeated. US didn't want that. So Iran surprised Israel, and so the Muslim world, because Muslim world didn't expect Iran to do what it did. That is what's at the heart of it. Fourth country, Jordan. Of course, where is the picture of so-called His Majesty? Is he like British, first of all, or is it Jordanians? And I don't quite get it. But what? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So Jordan, but you have to go back to during his father's reign, King Hussein. And King Hussein is the one who established sort of security buffer that Jordan needs. Also Israel's water and economic stability. So, as a matter of fact, I remember Moshe Dayan. You all remember who he was, right? Or Moshe Yaalon, I'm sorry, not Moshe Dayan, Moshe Yaalon, who was the defense minister of Israel back then, revealed that he participated in a secret meeting summit in Al-Aqaba. It was Jordan with Netanyahu, Egyptian President Fattah Sisi, and Jordan King, and U.S. Secretary John Kerry. It was a secret meeting that took place. So now, one country that surprised me is Oman. I did not expect. This is an old picture of King Qaboos. He died. So Qaboos, Oman used to be neutral, but Oman in 2018, Netanyahu visited Oman for high-profile talks with the Sultan Qaboos bin Said at that time. So just days after talks with the Palestinian Prime Minister Mahmoud Abbas, with Mahmoud Abbas is like a fiddle. They play him like a wet noodle. This is why you guys need to understand most of the Palestinian people will not give up on Hamas, because Hamas is part of the fabric of the Palestinian society, because Hamas is doing far more what the Abbas can do for the Palestinian people. Abbas is nothing but getting more money, similar way Yasser Arafat was doing. Let's just be honest about all this. Like I told you, and I have a record for it, and I disclosed it in one of my books. When Yasser Arafat died, the next day, $10 million was wired from a bank in Switzerland to a bank in Paris. Why Paris? Because Yasser Arafat's wife was living in Paris. They don't live in Palestine. You know, this is one thing about this hypocrisy of this so-called Arab leaders. So they don't give a damn about Palestinians. The next country is Morocco. Yeah, don't be surprised at that. Morocco also, Netanyahu alleged attempting to arrange a three-way agreement where the United States and Israel will recognize Moroccan sovereignty over the disputed Western Sahara. You all know the problem in the desert. Maybe one day I might do a video for you. I know somebody asked if I can do some video about Moroccan geopolitics. So maybe not. I'll see. But there is one reality that I need you to understand about Morocco. Moroccan Jews are very, very influential. They're considered one of the most influential in the world. Don't be surprised at that. Some members of the Knesset are of Moroccan descent. No. So don't be surprised at that. So Morocco in itself also had to, this is when that secretive meeting took place between Morocco's foreign minister, Bourita at the time, who refused to provide comments. Now, whether the guy is qualified or not, I ain't my business to judge for that. But again, Morocco is barking on a wrong tree. Instead of improving the economic conditions of the country, because unemployment is going up very, very high. And you have a massive problem in Morocco that lies ahead by 2030, according to some sources that I checked with, financial major ones. So it behooves the king to start thinking in terms of how they can create jobs for the massive population. Because one thing, at the social structure in Morocco, you have a majority of the population between the age of 20 and 30 with nothing to do. That's a recipe for disaster. You all know what it means. So, and this is why this prime minister or foreign minister refused to make a comment regarding what? About the Israeli providing sort of support in exchange for normalizing ties. And was one of the support has to do with providing Pegasus to Moroccan intelligence services. So it's not a secret. I'm not sharing classified information if you know where to look for the information. And back in 2020, Moroccan military signed a deal with 3 Israeli drones for 3 Israeli drones for a total of $48 million, according to Intelligence Online. So, but you have to go all the way back to 1986 when King Hassan used to be alive. Back then, Morocco signed a deal with 3 King Hassan and the Prime Minister of Israel at that time, Shimon Peres, who used to come to Morocco frequently for talks, became the 2nd Arab leader to host an Israeli leader after Anwar Sadat. So that's just FYI. 7th country is Bahrain. I don't know if I have a picture. Yeah, right there. Bahrain. Bahrain is, it's no secret that Kingdom of Bahrain and Israel have close ties, especially when it comes down to dealing with the silencing dissent inside Bahrain. You know, that's usually what happened. So there is growing now openness between Israel and Bahrain, which reflects to the extent now where Manama and Tel Aviv are finding themselves regarding this. So when you consider about Bahrain and Israel moved forward into normalizing relations, which was made public in 2019, but there were already ties before that. The same applies to Morocco, same applies to United Arab Emirates, same applies to Saudi Arabia and so forth. So, and here is what I found very, very interesting. And what's interesting is that the reason for Bahrain Foreign Minister Khalid bin Ahmed Al Khalifa, which by the way, all of them belong to the same family, whether he's qualified or not, those monarchies, they don't think in terms of putting someone in a position that has qualifications. You know, it's pathetic system anyway. So that's why I like the Chinese system. You know why? Meritocracy. You have to earn the possession. I don't care what your family name is. If you don't have the qualifications, you don't get the possession. Not in the Arab world. So Bahrain Foreign Minister Khalid bin Ahmed Al Khalifa jumped to Israel's defense by stating, and I quote, "Iran is one who has declared a war on us with its Revolutionary Guard Corps, its Lebanese party Hezbollah, its Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq, its Houthi arms in Yemen, and others. So one who strikes and destroys their piles of ammunition is not to blame. This is a self-defense." End of quote. How pathetic that a Muslim country can, but it tells you the story right there. What I found also interesting is that it was cited in an article 51, the chapter 7 of the UN Charter. So when it says right there, well, okay, Israel has the right to defend itself, so other countries. So what makes when the Houthis defend themselves, they are committing crimes, and when a country, doesn't matter whatever, conducting like the US, just violating international law and dropping a bomb, whatever they did in Iran, it's like within its right. No, it's not. The last country is Sudan. This might surprise you guys. Sudan. Israel and Sudan witnessed star relations for the first time after Netanyahu and Sudan Transitional Council, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, held 2-hour secret meeting. Where was it held? It was held in Uganda. in February 2020. So, and Netanyahu quickly announced the outcome of the meeting, declaring history when he did it in a tweet. So, and that's why when you hear Sudan also talking about the Muslim world, don't fall for that, guys. Don't fall for that. So that is the reason why I wanted to highlight to you and show you this hypocrisy of the Arab and Muslim world. So, and even I found out something going on in Indonesia, with some specific business ties with Israel, despite what you hear. I was even surprised. I even got surprised when I found out something in Pakistan that deals with the Israeli entity. So, and again, it's not about judging. I am not judging here. This is Trudeau. This is King of Morocco. That's his son, and this is Netanyahu over there. So, my point on all this is just to highlight to you what you read and hear. Don't fall for that. Don't fall for that. So. And I'm going to conclude with an excerpt, the last one from my book. And I'll see if you have any answer. So here is again, and I conclude with this one here, guys. It is what I wrote in the Saudi book. For those who wanted to, I'll put the link for you if you want to purchase a copy of the book. Here is what I wrote. Most Muslims unquestionably obey Islam, yet they question Christianity and Judaism, which I find hypocritical. It seems to me a foregone conclusion that the Muslim world will let stand the twisted interpretation of Islamic teachings emanating from the Wahhabist establishment in Saudi Arabia. One need only see, for instance, how Saudi Arabia uses the title for the monarch, king, whomever, protector of the two holy places, the custodian of the two holy mosques. That title suggests Saudi Arabia's realization that the source of its power, at least within the kingdom and the Muslim world at large, lies not in acquiring territories or building military power, though it continues to purchase military hardware from the US and the UK. Rather, it relies on the Wahhabist ideology to push its agenda. Of note, Wahhabism occupies a prominent place in Saudi society due to its historical ties. The relationship and alliance between the Al Saud and the Wahhabi clerics goes back centuries. Thus, the relevant question is, does Saudi Arabia draw its power from religion? Absolutely. And I just wanted to leave you on that note. Because when you start questioning, that's when you evolve intellectually, and of course there is that preconceived notion you can't question anything in Islam. It's wrong. You have to question things, because we're seeing the evidence of what Muslims saying versus what they're doing. And again, I am not generalizing here. I am putting the facts on the table. I'll let you decide for yourself. So I just wanted to share those with you. For those who wants to get a copy of my book, I'm going to put the link for you guys in the chat box. If you are interested, I'll show it to you here first, and I'll put it in the chat box if you want to read it. And if I ever meet you personally, I'll be happy to autograph the book for you guys. So, all right, let me say thank you, first of all, to hold on, let me hide this one. Let me say thank you to EFU. By the way, thank you so much for last time. You put a super sticker to the last minute after I logged off and I saw it coming. So I didn't mean to ignore you, just I logged off. So I want to say thank you so much for your support and truly appreciate you for doing so. So here is what you wrote. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. David. Peace be upon you. Everyone in the chat as well. The world is sick of the Zionist West, and it's time to stop their evil madness on humanity. I can agree more. And again, I have Jewish friends, wonderful people. But again, what we're talking about is what's been committed while the rest of the world just watching, let alone the Muslim world couldn't do a squat about it. And that's usually what. So, and I don't approach it from a religion aspect. I approach it as a human being, no more, no less, because that could be my child over there. That could be me there, that could be you, your loved ones, What about just having some compassion and think about that human life there deserve a chance, like we all do, and doesn't matter what part of the world. So it's just the damn silence of the Muslim world, and of course the hypocrisy of the West contributed to that. So once again, thank you so much for your super sticker. Rafael, as always, can't thank you enough, man. You wrote, I believe Russia is using these Arab states to gather intelligence from US. Russia knows that the administration is stupid, makes us feel good. Yeah. There are a lot of questions coming out regarding Russia, especially with what Iran experienced and why Russia didn't step in. So, and yet Russia witnessed how the United States was sending weapons openly through a third party to Ukraine. Couldn't Russia do the same and send weapons to Iran? Why did the US was able to do it and not Russia? And some have questioned, and I'll raise this with you guys, just FYI knowledge, that one of the question as geopolitical analyst I'll ask is this conflict in Iran and Israel exposed that Russia might be just a regional power, not a global power? And again, it's just food for thoughts. We're just thinking outside the box. And it became, you start to question, because here is now, I just found out this morning that China is going to go ahead forward with equipping the air defenses of Iran. So it makes me just wonder, did Iran wash its hand of Russia? Because it became clear, when it matters, Russia didn't step in. Food for thought. So, Rafael, thank you so much. Oh, you got another super sticker here, man. Appreciate you, man. Truly, truly appreciate you. You wrote, Israel knows that Iran is the leader of the whole area by now. Now, by November, with the deal, every military base, port, and airfield in Iran is also a Chinese and Russian one. I will add Pakistan too. You're absolutely correct. This is one of the reasons why Israel was quick to end the conflict. They didn't want it to extend longer because the amount of damage Iran was causing. Of course, Israel caused damage inside Iran as well. As a matter of fact, Israel had one major victory over Iran, and this has to do with the penetration of its intelligence services. For the amount of spies that exist inside Iran, it's bad, and they have been there for decades. I was in Washington. We were aware of certain things. I worked in the intelligence community, guys. You all know this by now. So I just don't talk about my previous work. So we don't. But just the idea of, Israel became realized if we keep going at this, Iran didn't even show all its missiles. So that is one of the reasons why they wanted to stop it. But on the other hand, Iran is not in peace. Iran will never live in peace till it makes a decision regarding what does he want. Does he want to acquire the bomb? Because once it does, game is over for Israel. Game is over for the US. And that's because look at, and I always give the example, guys, of North Korea. Tell me, when was the last time we threatened North Korea? None. We can't, because we know what they're going to do. They developed ICBM for a reason. And this is why Pakistan is working on developing its ICBM that can reach the US. Because they can't trust the Americans. They know what could happen. We could play India against Pakistan. We always did anyway. So that is the reason why. So once again, thank you all. I want to briefly talk to you about my upcoming trip to, because I have to make a decision very, 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 very soon, guys. And it seems that it is what it is. The funding for the trip is not moving where I would like it to be. I understand, things have changed economically speaking for so many people and so forth. So, but I need you to understand that if I am to go, I have one particular place in mind, which truly you wouldn't want me to do reporting from there. But if I don't have enough funding for it, I won't be able to make it, because it's on the other side. That's a long trip from where I'm going to be versus where I usually don't disclose locations. You all know this is not a secret. It's security ops. That's my nature. I don't disclose where I'm going till I get there. But so far, I am planning on going in August. We only have about 12% of the funding so far. Next time I do live, I'm going to share with you where we are number-wise, so you know, and we'll make a decision. If I need to cut that funding by half, I'll be happy to do it, except I won't go to that location, which is a very, very crucial. So for supporting the channel, I know you guys gets me the super stickers here. I'm very, very grateful. But if you will be kind and move those super stickers to buy me coffee directly, I noticed the percentage that Google takes from all this through YouTube and all that. So I know you. I appreciate your generosity, but think about it. Next time you want to do the super sticker, you might want to do it through Buy Me Coffee, because Buy Me Coffee doesn't take much percentage versus what it happens here. So, but I am grateful in either way, to whatever way you want to do it. So, in any event, I am going to be working on some other topics for you, and I look forward to seeing you soon. As always, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time. Bye-bye.